So that's definitely something, kind of like a coping mechanism, but yeah, so when you multiply 9 times 1, yeah. So 9 times 1 is 9, and then 2 is 18, so it's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Counts down in the ones place, but then counts up in the tens place.
Wow.
And they get that. They are quick with it.
Is it only with the nines, or will that work with some of the other ones?
Only with the 9s.
Wow.
Only works with the 9s. And then when they do 10s, they go, well, I'm just going to just add a 0 to every number. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So just other ways that they know the facts so then they know how to cope and figure out the rest of it. Now with fifth grade, they focus also on 11s and 12s. In 4th grade, they don't get to that yet. So the new facts that they should really only be learning are 11s and 12s. But at the beginning of the year, everyone's rusty. I used to tutor a 5th grader last year, and she could fill this out no problem. And I struggled every time. Like, I just can't write that fast. But then once we started doing it more, I got it. The other thing that we noticed is she's left-handed. This was a lot harder for her to fill out left-handed. So I went online and found a left-handed one, and all the facts, the numbers were given to you down the top and then down the right side. So she worked this way and worked with her writing pattern as opposed to working the opposite direction. It was easier for her. Left-handed, yeah, just simple things you wouldn't think about that affect how quickly you can process and put it onto paper, are things that we make relevant for our students and say, well, do you need this? Because even though it's different, it's what you need, and that's what we're trying to approach. The next one that I want to have you guys do is we currently use it in 4th grade, and they have 4 minutes to complete this challenge. And this challenge, with our old curriculum, students were only needed to master 0, 1, 2, 5, and 10, forgetting them, up until 3rd grade. And then in 4th grade, they would learn the rest up until 10. So 3, 4, 7, 8, and 9. With our new curriculum, they now want all of them to be mastered by the end of 3rd grade. Well, with our transition to the new curriculum, we realized that's not going to happen with such a short amount of time. So 4th grade decided this is important to know. It's a buildings. Lost my train of thought. It's just a really important thing to know to start with, and they can build upon and reach the harder, more rigorous activities that we want them to be able to reach. So I'm going to give you this one the same way I handed it out to my students. I handed it out face down, and they write their names on the back. You don't have to write your names. But I will have to collect this sheet back because it is a secure document for the county. And I'm going to give you 4 minutes to complete this one. And it's a little bit easier because you only have to know your 0, 1, 2, 5, and 10. A little bit easier. It focused on just a small set of the facts. So we kind of, with 3rd grade, we start with the ones that seem really easy. Something times 0 is always going to be 0. Something times 1 is always going to be that number. But then you relate how is 10 related to times 0 as well as times 1. And then they build on that. Once you know that, then you can also double the number, and you know doubles. And then if you know times 10, you can multiply by 5s, you count by 5s easily. The other thing with that is we have money that is in 1s, 5s, 10s. So it's something that they can easily relate to. And then when we come to 4th grade, or when they used to come to 4th grade, then they built on the 3, 4, 7, 8, and 9. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And we really wanted to make it as a transition. It's easy for them. It's not too hard for them, but it's not too easy. And it's the zone that they can work within. And we don't want to give them too much on their load because then they'll feel overwhelmed and stressed. But we don't want to give them too easy because then there's no motivation. There's no reason for them. They're like, this is too easy for me. I know it. I don't need to do it. So we have to work with, and every student's little work bubble is what I call it. How do your bubbles overlap, and what is best for you, this student, what's best for that student? And for these, this is another thing we look at. Where did you start, and where are you going to end? And then we even tell them about, well, 5th grade, they're learning their 11s and 12s. So if you can get these done, you'll be able to get the 11s and 12s, no problem. And they like the challenge. As the minute you call it a challenge, you put any type of competition with it, they're like, I'm on it. And it's another motivating factor. Do you guys want to do the 4th grade one, or do you just want to see it so you can compare? You don't have to complete it if you don't want.
So what grade is this, 3rd?
That's 3rd grade.
Oh, okay. Oh.
But now it's considered all of this is going to be considered third grade with our new curriculum. So as of last year, it was third grade was the goldenrod and fourth grade was the green, but now all of it is going to be done by third grade. It's okay if you get stuck on one, bounce around. You can go between multiplication and division, just go to what you know. And a lot of them don't realize how the multiplication is related to the division. And that's another thing we really want to focus on. Yes, you know your multiplication fact, but knowing division is just as important. And they think like, oh, I have to know all of these facts. Well, if you know just the multiplication, you already know the division. You just have to memorize the fact family, the three numbers that match together. And for some kids, it's really easy, and they realize that, and other kids, it's a struggle. We are focusing on the memorizations of the facts in order to facilitate further learning, but we definitely start with the strategy building. How do I realize how 3 times 1, how will that help me figure out 3 times 3? Then once they figure out that strategy building, then it becomes more of a rote thing. And a big portion of our 4th grade curriculum has transitioned into fractions. And if they know their basic facts, it'll be a lot easier for them to compare equivalent fractions, which is a big standard that we focus on. And if we compare 1/2 is a fraction that they see starting in 1st grade. They may even see it in kindergarten, I'm not sure about that though. If they know how much a half is, well, they can see how it's related if I multiply it by 2. If I understand that 2 times 2 is 4 already, I don't have to figure out how do I know 2 times 2 is 4, as opposed to how do I know that 1/2 is related to 2/4. So instead of trying to remember 2 things, now they only need to remember 1. Or remember 1 thing and then build on their learning. If a student knows their basic facts, they can more easily understand new teaching, and mastering facts allows the student to focus on this new strategy, like I had said before, rather than feeling overwhelmed with learning the facts and learning their new concept and their zone of learning, their bubble will just be on overload. And that's when you see a shutdown in a lot of kids, and even the strongest kids hit rock bottom sometimes. Like, it's just too hard and I can't do it. So we just want to make it that much easier for them. How can you help at home? Practicing facts all the time. We know that in the car a lot, traveling between sports things, just asking in the car, what's 3 times 3, 4 times 4? And you can also look at, maybe ask your student's teacher, well, what specifically facts do they know? And which ones are they working on right now? And you can help facilitate the ones that they're working on right now. Throw in some of those ones that they know, like 5 times 1 and 5 times 2, to build that confidence. And then throw in the 3s and the 4s, the ones that they're practicing now, so that way they're not being completely knocked down because they don't know them yet, but they're still having that confidence to say, I can try it. I'm willing to at least take the risk. And like I said earlier, we also tend to put a lot of focus on the multiplication facts, but it's important that they know the division as well. And putting things into games, the competition factor. For some kids, competition they thrive on. Other kids, competition they don't. It's just something that they'll do well with, and then that's kind of on the teacher. We have to figure out, okay, well, what can I do instead? And I play math fact games in my classroom with the kids. There's some that I work with them hands-on and play games, and then there's some that they get to do independently. And these are called wrap-ups. And what they do is they wrap up the multiplication facts that they know. So if I'm starting on 3, and that's what we've been practicing a lot, they start at 5 times 3, and they find, well, 5 times 3 is 15, so I find the 15. Come back around, 6 times 3 is 18. And they can check their own work on the back. They just move the little thread piece, and I'll walk around, and it gives you the answer on the back. So that way they can check their answer and make it a more independent activity. And this is something that I would give the students once they've shown that they have a handle or a grasp on how their multiplication of 3s, but they're just now getting that independent work time. So you can see how if it overlaps properly, that they got the right answer. Some other things that we have with the kids, they're called strategies at work games. And for example, they'll be given a direction card and a game board. Some game boards have spinners on them. Some they need to work with a partner. Let's see. So like a spinner, we can use a brad and a paper clip, but most of the time I have the kids just put a pencil in the center and a paper clip, and they flick the paper clip, and that becomes their spinner. It's really easy to do at home too. And the games, they have the directions. So this game focuses on multiplication of 2s. and one player uses one color marker and another has a different color. They take turns choosing a square and solving the problems. If that answer is on any of the other two boards, they can put an X through all of them. So if I pick 2 times 0, I know the answer is 0, I'll cross it out. There's no 2 times 0, so I can't cross it out. No 2 times 0, so I can't cross it out. That's my partner's turn. And their strategy in what facts am I going to pick so that way my partner can't get it, what facts am I going to pick because I know them, and what facts am I not going to pick because I don't know them at all. So it kind of has them building on what I know and what I don't know. And it gives them a lot of responsibility to the student, being responsible for their own learning and understanding what I'm capable of and what I can push myself to do. And it gives the kids a lot of responsibility during independent work time as well. Another fact game that I have them play is War. And a lot of the kids already know how to play War with regular cards. So I give them multiplication or division. And when they do multiplication, they try to get the highest answer. And when they do division, they try to get the lowest answer. So a partner and I would flip over a card. This is 4 times 9. I got 36. My partner got 9 times 0. They got 0. So I get to keep these 2 cards. And then my partner would go, or then my partner and I would go again. 7 times 2, I got 14. 4 times 4, my partner got 16. So my partner would get to keep the cards. And then you go until all the cards are gone. Any questions about how to play that game? If you have cards, it's something easy. You can pick them up at the dollar store if you want to do multiplication or division. And the kids really enjoy it. They love having the choice as well, having a lot of options of what games that they can play while they're in center time. And like I said, with division, they do the same thing, but you try to get the lowest number. The other thing that, when it comes to the division, I try to stay consistent at first with the style that I'm showing them division. So if I'm showing them 20 divided by 5 or 20 divided by 5, I try to stay consistent in the same type of card. All the cards I show them will be either this way or all the cards will be this way. They know that it works both ways, but when they're going quickly, it's almost too much to distinguish between which one am I really working with right now. But it's also nice to have maybe a set of each so they can understand that this will be presented to you in multiple ways. Why is it so important? If students know their multiplication and division facts, it makes their future learning that much easier. When learning new things, we need to take small steps at a time, and knowing these facts are one of the many steps in order to make our students successful math students. And I know at the beginning of each school year I ask, raise your hand if you like math, and I have like 1, maybe 2 hands. And I tell them, by the end of the school year, you would say, Ms. Foreman, I love math. Or at least, I'll get you to at least like math. And it's that, think about the end in mind. What can you do now? What do you want to be able to do? And it's being advocates for themselves, saying, well, this is what I can do, and I know that I'm just going to build on that. And facts are just one way, that if they know the fact, it's one less struggle for them. Do you guys have any questions? Anything? All right, that just means I'm awesome. But feel free, if you have any questions, like after this, you go home and be like, oh man, I forgot something. My email is on the school website. You can always email me or email your students' homeroom or math teacher and get in contact with me that way if you do have any additional questions. I also printed out some other games that we use in school. Some of us do. It actually comes from the head of our math department created a book, John San Giovanni, and all of these games come out of his book and strategies that we teach in school. And some of the kids will have seen these games before, some may not, but it's a great strategy to use at home, or activity to use at home with the kids as well. So some of them are all about multiplying by 2s, some are multiplying by 10, some are 6, 7, 8, 9. I have ones that you can adapt to fit all of the multiplication facts. So like bingo, if you could make the board out of anything, you could fill it in. Let's say we're going to focus on 5s. Every number has to be multiples of 5s, and they fill it in randomly. Then you would cut out these cards and flip them over, and they pick one at a time, and whatever card they get, multiply it by 5. If their answer's on the board, then they would cross it out, and the first one to get 5 in a row would win. And I try to get more of the games that were easy to adapt to using more than just one fact. But then you could also be creative and you say, oh, well, let's switch it up this way. Like the ones that are 8, you could also use for 2s and 4s, because numbers times 2 could eventually end up being the same factor as 8. This one's called corners. What you do is, this one is times 8, and you spin the spinner, and I just made one copy of the spinners. It says times 10, but you can just ignore that part. They spin it, and they have to multiply the number times 8. And then they put their marker or the color on the one that is times 8. So if it was 8 times 10, I'd cross out 8 times 10, and your goal is to get 4 in a row to create a square. And you get the 4 corners of the square. And then I also have one that's for 5s and for 9s. And this one is called Eliminate 10. And what you do is, you can have any fact cards. These are all just 2s. And you turn them upside down. You cut them out and turn them upside down. They pull it out. And so let's say they pulled 8 divided by 2. The answer is 4. I would take my set of cards and flip over 4. And my goal is to eliminate all 10 of my numbers. And the first one to flip over and eliminate them all wins. So you guys are free to come up and take whatever games you'd like. The ones that have multiple pages, I put, like that specifically went together, I put on top of each other. And I have a file folder that if you kind of want to cut the spinner out and glue it to the folder so it's a little bit of a stronger thing, or even the cards, so that way the cards are a little stronger and you can't see it through the back, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Would you like me to pass it out, or do you want to come up? Alright.
I got a question.
Yes.
Do you know any of the websites that they can go to actually?
Yes, that is a great question. What I was going to, on our Parent Night page, we have sent a lot of things, and I'm going to send the email. In my email, we'll have all of them, specific where they can play games online. And I have a bunch that my students have in my handout folder that when we go to the computer lab twice a week that they play too, so they'll be familiar with it, and I'll also have that up. Any other questions?